And for your daily treat, do you know, and I'll give you two today because we've gone deep, do you know either Molt Tender or Kishla Skimmer? Good luck. Hello folks, Phil Gallagher aka ThrabenU here for another modern video, and today Nick has sent us a very interesting Tasigur list, but we did a pretty big rebuild on this one. Shout outs to Avocado in particular. I threw the original deck list in my Discord community, and they went to work and gave me most of what I'm going to be playing today. So let's go back in time a few years. And by a few years, I think I mean to 2015, when Tasigur the Golden Fang released. It became very obvious that the delve mechanic was pretty busted, and there were some pushed cards with the delve mechanic around that time. Treasure Cruise, Dig Through Time, and Tasigur all come to mind. And back in the day, the activated ability here was very strong. Modern in particular was much slower, and it was reasonable to do something like play a Grixis control that would look to grind out the endgame with something like this. Putting the top two cards of your library into your graveyard and then returning a card of a non-land card of your opponent's choice to your hand, that was fine. As long as you had a pile of solid cards, that was perfectly reasonable. As long as it didn't matter what card you got, you could hold up mana for your opponent's turn, and then end of turn, if you didn't need to use your mana, you activate this. And if you start getting to Cruel Ultimatum levels of mana, you could maybe even activate this multiple times per turn. But now Magic has changed, and Tasigur has kind of been power crept out of most formats, at least the ones that I'm familiar with, but we're going to give a shot at reviving him today. So this is what our updated deck list is going to look like. We have some degree of self-mill here that is meant to power up various delve spells. So we are going to have a few Murktide Regents in here, a few Tasigurs, and then a few copies of Abhorrent Oculus, which isn't exactly a delve creature, but like, you know what I mean when I say that. And we're going to try some other graveyard-oriented synergies here. Molt Tender is something that we can play out in the early game to go and mill some cards out, and then we can turn it into an engine in the late game, believe it or not. We have a couple of different cards in our deck that can allow us to take individual cards out of graveyard, which we are then going to turn into draw a card. So this is very much Ketramos coded in terms of value here. There are probably a few different ways that you can go around building your self-mill package. Nick's original version had Aftermath Analyst, Alaji Archaeologist, and Stitcher's Supplier as the ways to go and enable the graveyard. Without playing some games, it is unclear to me whether this is better than doing those things, but at a glance, we have some pretty spicy synergies between cards, and hopefully this ends up being good enough. As far as the sideboard goes, this is highly targeted. I have a feeling that our Eldrazi matchup is going to be tough, even with 4x Consign to Memory. So it's my hope that between Consign and Thoughtseize, I can do a decent job at stopping our opponent from resolving their top end cards. That's the hope. I don't know whether or not that is actually going to be true. And then we have some generic answers beyond that to artifacts and enchantments, graveyards, and a few more additional creature spells. So today's going to be a little trial and error. We're going to see whether or not we have improved Nick's deck or made it worse. Folks, should you need any Magic cards, please consider getting them from my sponsor, TOAMagic.com. Promo code ThrabenU will save you 5% on your order. MagicCon Vegas is coming up. I'll be there. TOA Magic will be there. If you want to get copies of my tokens and you have trouble finding me, my tokens and stickers will be available at the TOA Magic booth. So, with that being said, let's battle. Alright, I am keeping my opening hand here. I have a potential engine to start drawing a bunch of cards. It is my hope that my Spell Pierce is good in the early game. Anyway, it's my hope that my Spell Pierce does something in the early game, and then I end up drawing enough cards to do something relevant a little bit later on. So we'll probably Spell Pierce just about any castable card here. Absolutely. Absolutely down to take that out. So immediately in round 1, we're going to get paired against what I suspect is a pretty scary matchup. I am fine taking 2 more. And then I'm going to play one of these out. I guess I'll get the Emperor going. Although I honestly don't know that it matters which one I play first. If my opponent is in red, either one of them is going to eat it to a Kozilek's return. More Malevolent Rumble. No fun creature for me to eat, unfortunately. Opponent grabs the fetch land. Sure. Alright, I think I'm into Surveil land to see if I randomly hit a large creature. I don't. It's a Malevolent Rumble. I could draw that card. Don't think I will. So let's go blue and green for the Skimmer. I will exile a card from my own graveyard. Trigger that thing. Drawn a Spell Pierce. So from here on out, I am probably going to start leaving up some degree of mana. I think I get this last turn to tap out, but I think from here I have to hold up mana. Sometimes my opponent catapults to 7 this turn. They just have something like an Ugin's Labyrinth, but I'm hoping they don't. Alright, that's an Ugin's Labyrinth, so we are absolutely to 7 as of next turn. We are to 6 immediately. Emrakul the Promised End under there. Alright, looks like we're chilling. I'm worried that my stuff is gonna die. Yeah, this weird pause here is so indicative of something like a Kozilek's Return or a Kozilek's Command. Do I have basics in this deck? I have Island and Swamp, but not Forest. I think I'm going to go ahead and fetch. Get an Island. I think I just send in with both of these. I don't think I play this out. Like, I would like to. I would very much like that extra card. I just don't feel like it is correct to as of right now. Alright, here we go. Something is happening. So that is a Kozilek's Command. My opponent has 1 mana floating, which means that Spell Pierce will counter this, and I will still have Counterspell up for whatever my opponent does on their turn. So I will draw my card. Thought Scour's not bad. I will crash in for 4. Opponent's at 13. I need 2 mana up for Counterspell for sure. I'll just play Molt Tender. My opponent has 2, 4, 5, 6, 7 mana, so Big Scary Thing is coming, and Big Scary Thing might exile one of my cards on cast. There's the Heath. A Writhing Chrysalis. This is annoying, but I feel like that's beatable. I don't think I blow my only counterspell on that. I have spot removal in my deck for a reason. I'm going to Thought Scour myself. There's a Tasigur. Okay. Cool. There's a Murktide Regent. Okay. Okay, we're cooking. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is 6. Deck has now gotten hard to play. I think I just make a giant Murktide Regent. 2 mana for Duder. Okay. So let's fetch. Get another Breeding Pool. 2 mana for Duder. Let's exile a land from my graveyard. Draw 2 cards. So much Molt Tender. Alright, now I will Murktide Regent. Like so. Make a pretty respectable creature. You don't have Reach secretly. You do have Reach secretly. Well, fuck you. So I will go to Punchies. I'll send something to exile. I guess I should pay a little more attention to that because of Emrakul the Promised End. The sorcery was better to do there. Cool, cool. So my midterm goal is Tasigur returning Counterspell to my hand, which is why I took that turn to clear out my whole ass graveyard. I'm sorry, I'm wrong. These are sorceries. It was correct to hit the instant. I counter it. I don't counter it. Bojuka Bog. You dare bog me. The insolence. Alright, cool. So, let's fetch. Almost wish I had another Surveil land here. I'm gonna get a Swamp. Go to combat. I'm gonna take a land out of my graveyard and draw 2 cards. More Tasigur. Fatal Push. And I did fetch. So let's Fatal Push Writhing Chrysalis before we move any further. Very nice. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 in the air. This forces a block. 1, 2, 3, 4. mill a card 5. So I need to leave these up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of 6 towards Tasigur. So that's not happening. All right. Shove. All right. Opponent is just going to take a block here. Go to 1. Now I need to leave up Counterspell. I've already triggered these. I think I'm going to play out one of these to put some extra cards in my graveyard next turn. If for some reason I don't have lethal. That's more mana. Alright, I know you have a spell. You tried to cast it last turn, and then you didn't cast it. So, what do we got? Gotta be good. Okay, that is an Emrakul, the Promised End. So my opponent is going to control me during my next turn. But then I will get another turn after that. You're not uncounterable or anything. So I will just go ahead and counter you. So you can now find a colorless creature card. My opponent chooses a new Emrakul. I think I'm just going to adapt to this here, so nothing fucky happens. I just don't want my opponent to find a neat way to use that ability to hurt me. So now my opponent controls me during this turn. I have 6 creatures in play, any one of which is lethal. I can't imagine that they are going to be capable of removing all of my creatures. They have, in fact, made me draw cards and made my Murktide Regent bigger. Thumbs up. And then conceded the game. Okay, this was a proof of concept. 4x Consigned to Memory seems good. Thoughtseize also seems necessary. I could attempt to force a Vigor for artifact and enchantment mana. But I think conceptually my plan is fight over the payoff cards, not the mana. Dismember can go. I probably want a couple of Fatal Pushes, but not this many. I will probably trim a Tasigur. I will probably trim some Molt Tenders. I just have other early game plays here. I don't know, Molt Tender has synergy here, though. Maybe we're adjusting ratios like this. Let's sort this now. This seems fine. I do think this matchup is an uphill battle. This one is a no from me. Whereas the second hand is pretty ideal. We'll get rid of Molt Tender here. I do not think it is a bad card immediately, but I think I want 3 lands. I have endgame stuff to do with like Tasigur mana. I need to get to 3 for Oculus. There's a lot of times where I'm going to want 4 mana to like play a 2-drop and counterspell afterwards. And I absolutely am going to need to hold up mana once we get to the early game. Sorry, once we get to the late game. So our opponent kicks off the game with a few cards in exile and throws Utopia Sprawl on Forest. Let's get some mana going. Probably a Watery Grave to start with. And let's hope my opponent's hand does not have too many payoff cards. My opponent's hand, in fact, has 1 payoff card, although Ancient Stirrings can help with that a little bit. I will be taking the Devourer of Destiny. So now that is in graveyard for something like an Emperor of Bones later on. So there is our Talisman, which can immediately just produce green mana. I think I can play this Skimmer on my turn. I don't think I have to hold up Counterspell for next turn. Ooh. That is a nightmare for my exact hand here. Now I'm definitely playing Skimmer. What did I say on basics? I do not have basic forest. Okay. That means I'm taking 2 more. I could have fetched a basic swamp this turn if I got a different dual land last turn. But I wasn't thinking that far ahead. I don't super care if this card eats Unholy Heat. I don't have anything to do with this yet. That is life for another Utopia Sprawl. My opponent's up to 4 mana, but we're not up to scary levels of mana yet. Now we are. Oh, that's a disaster. So the Unholy Heat kills my stuff. My opponent gets a Sowing Mycos spawn, and they get to dump a Kozilek's Return into graveyard. Alright, well, they lose a Sowing Mycos spawn. So drop a land, take Sowing Mycos spawn. I'm passing the turn. This is the point where I need to draw a Tasigur, an Oculus, a Murktide Regent. Because of this, I think I'm going to consign to memory that trigger. Oh, that's weird. That is not the best value play here. So now let's try to find a threat. I did not succeed. Molt Tender is kind of whatever right now. That's not what I am looking for. It has synergies with things that I'm looking for. Like now Skimmer is an actively good draw. All right, cool. This is what I want to see though. I'll go to 8. We're just going to take lands out of the deck here. That's what we want. Abso-fucking-lutely, that's what we want. We're going to start by taking lands out of the graveyard, then maybe Skimmer after that. We're going to leave the instants and sorceries in there for Murktide Regent. And I still have Counterspell available. Cheating. Absolutely cheating. Now I will have my opponent on a 2-turn clock. I have Counterspell backing me up, but this is a thing. Fuck. Yeah, that's pretty bad. Kozilek's Return makes it worse. By consigning the Bojuka Bog trigger, I got to play Oculus, so thumbs up to that. However, the exact details of what is happening here are pretty rough. My opponent exiles the Oculus. Are they going to do this to kill these? I hope not, because this. I will mill a card while this is still on the stack, though, because I know I don't need Counterspell right now. Okay, cool. I did not want to draw that. All right, they do. That's unfortunate. Well, I mean, yes. This is why we left the instants and sorceries in there. Lucky that we hit a Thoughtseize on top of that. So at the end of the day here, I have the larger creature backed by a Counterspell. And now I'm just hoping that my opponent casts literally anything that is counterable. Nice, that's even better. That reads, gain 6 life. Send him. Opponent is at 10. Play Molt Tender. Pass turn. Come on, Counterspell. Ooh. So, in some cases, I actually won't block because Molt Tender exiling Counterspell is lethal in the air. Fascinating. Because my opponent fetched, specifically. If my opponent attacks, I think I have to just block. But let the record show that fetch was a big deal. I remain at 8. That is a giant Kozilek's command. Now, Cavern of Souls works on creature spells. This, not a creature spell. Absolutely fine with countering that. That feels like a bad concession from my opponent. I am hitting them for 8. They are alive. They have another draw to draw something like a Devourer of Destiny that can take out my Murktide Regent. And I can't see what my draw would have been anymore. But like, I am very close to death myself. This game was not over. Regardless, GG's. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com. If you want to see upcoming sets, if you want to understand commander brackets, or if you just want an awesome place to store all, and I mean all, of your deck lists, Moxfield is the place. You can organize all of your decks by folders, and you can even change the views. You like visual, they've got that. You like text, they've got that. Check out my Moxfield Profield if you want to see all, and I mean all, of the decks that I've been cooking up. All right, we've got a reasonable looking opening hand here that is probably going to result in an early-ish Tasigur. We'll start the game at 17 life and see what my opponent is bringing to the table. Marsh Flats, Ye Old Basic Plains, and Guide of Souls. So this is going to be some energy nonsense. I think I'm just going to intend counterspelling this turn while milling a card, even if that costs me a little bit of life. Yeah, you don't get to do that. Absolutely not. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. I will take 1 from this. Do you have another land? You do. I'll mill a card. Mill to Murktide. Spell Pierce is kind of medium here. Let's consider our options. Ooh, Consider is card 4. Marsh Flats is card 5. Molt Tender is card 6. Top. But I can't use this for mana and a card this turn. Am I holding up Spell Pierce? The threatening things that my opponent does are more likely to be creatures. Fetch. Save some life. Mill a card. I'm going to Tasigur and use that to help lock down the board. I'm not sure if I should take 2 more points of damage to get another Molt Tender in play to work towards Oculus more quickly or not. It's possible that playing Molt Tender and leaving up Spell Pierce is just going to be better. We are in brew territory, so normal heuristics are maybe not always going to hold through. Boggart, Trawler to graveyard. Tasigur holds back and attacks successfully. Alright. I kind of just want to hold you back. Something like Bowmaster might be happening. So let's just play another one of these. And I think pass the turn. Oh, it's Thalia. It's not Bowmaster. It's significantly worse for me. Bleachbone Verge. Oh, that's the Aether Drift cycle. Okay, got it. Now it's Bowmasters. I fucking hate this. So, I'm going to lose one of those. And then at some point, my opponent can attack with Thalia, blink Bowmasters, and get another one of these. My opponent's at 3 energy, so Thalia can just fucking fly now. Yeah. Alright, the Bowmaster thing is happening immediately. I think I'm gonna get buried here. Maybe I should not have played Tasigur and just waited another turn to play an Oculus. Or not to the mana where Tasigur's ability is relevant. We technically are now if I shock this in. 5 cards in graveyard. Yeah, no, I'm dead. My opponent blinks my Tasigur out, and 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah. Let's get a couple more removal spells in here. Probably over Spell Pierces. I think my life total is in enough danger that I am not going to Thoughtseize. Okay, opening hand is fine. We'll probably surveil pretty aggressively here. Just work on our raw count in graveyard. The Skimmer's fine, but I like it much better once I start doing something that has some synergy with it. I am fine with rumbling here and not just holding up Counterspell immediately. With multiple Fatal Pushes in hand, I don't think Bones. I don't think I have to just hold up Counterspell on turn 2. And my opponent will probably use one of their Surveil lands at end of turn for a little selection. A shock from my opponent. Guide of Souls into Relic of Progenitus. Sure. Are we pushing? If so, what else am I doing with the turn? I think I'm going to Malevolent Rumble first. Yeah. Okay, yeah, that has changed my turn. So I will take a Tasigur. We're going to sneak that into play while I still have a graveyard. And then I am probably going to just junk this Guide of Souls. So I'm going to do it now before my opponent can do something wonky like Ephemerate it. Boop. Ooh, opponent goes to 14 for that land and gets a Ketramose, which currently cannot attack or block. But guess what? Guess what there now is? Oh no. Oh, I hate this. So now my opponent exiles my Tasigur and gets to draw another card from Ketramose. That's where I needed the counter spell. Ketramose, notably, is indestructible. So, it's the Emperor. We're going to go to combat. Target Solitude. Pay 2 mana. Oh, come on! I'm upset. Oh, that's devastating. Oh, wow. Thought I was so clever. Alright. My opponent's Ketramose is probably now going to just take over this game. Fuck! Yeah. So Ketramose does Ketramose things. This can now attack. My opponent can hide their Solitude under their own Ketramose. Sorry, under their own Emperor of Bones, so that I can't potentially take it out. Disgusting. Okay. Okay. I think this is the end. I can Fatal Push this. My opponent just has draw an extra card every turn. And a 4-point life swing. I think I am ready to move to the next game. GG's. Okay, my hand has a reasonable mix of lands and spells that will certainly lead into a Murktide Regent around turn 3. We're doing this again. The Worldbreaker, that is Worldbreaker. You've got it. The green-black Talisman and an Ancient Stirrings. Okay. When it grabs a Kozilek's Command. I'm going to go ahead and Thought Scour myself here. Tasigur to Graveyard. Counterspell is a great pickup. And a new Thought Scour. I think I'm saving this Counterspell for after Murktide Regent. I think I want a Breeding Pool. 16, then 14. I just really need the blue pips. Guess I'm taking another Murktide. Okay. That was perhaps not my ideal draw. No. The plan is now going to be much closer to Murktide into Murktide. Oh no. Because I revealed a Murktide, my opponent got Tormod's Crypt. That's rough. Okay. Now what? My options are bad. I think I need to be proactive here. I think if I just sit back on Counterspell, there's a decent chance that my opponent just does an uncounterable Eldrazi, and I'm not actually progressing my game. So I'm going to try to Thought Scour myself into something relevant here. That is a Counterspell, and this Overgrown Tomb does not cast that. That is most unfortunate. I don't think I take 2 to make that come in untapped for maybe scenarios where I get to Fatal Push something. Yeah, my conceptual plan for this game was play a small Murktide Regent, saving the instants and sorceries in the graveyard, play a second Murktide Regent, using the instants and sorceries on that one to grow both Murktide Regents at the same time. So my opponent's got a decent chunk of mana here. So 2, 3, 4, and 5. We're to the mid-range cards, but we're not to the 7 mana bombs yet. Utopia Sprawl, and a neutral here. Malevolent Rumble. I can get a Sowing Myco spawn, and it does. Like, opponent's just going to wait a turn so that that can come in uncounterably for 6 mana. Now, Karn can also, I think, get like Liquid Metal Coating. Is that legal in this format still? Soulless Jailer. That's graveyard hate? Okay. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Even if I kill the spawn, my opponent still has mana to do their thing. And this Overgrown Tomb not being blue mana here, kind of rough. Let's try to high roll. I think I need a bigger Murktide Regent. Malevolent Rumble is not what I'm looking for right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Ah! Okay. Okay. That is frustrating. Yeah. I guess I didn't need to keep it. I guess I could have junked it with Consider. Or no, I junked Malevolent Rumble, right? Yeah, I junked Malevolent Rumble. So the only way I could have played this turn was if I dismembered a spawn the previous turn. Now I'm going to lose a mana. Never mind. We can tap out here. Because this is not blue mana, I don't have Counterspell available. Brutal. That did not go well. All right, what on earth did I do for sideboarding before? I think I got rid of a decent amount of this stuff. I think I trimmed some top end. I think I trimmed Consider and Molt Tender. Although now that I've played this more, I think it's Molt Tender over Consider because of Kozilek's return. This is what I want to see. This is highly interactive. We have Thoughtseize and Counterspell and Emperor of Bones, potentially taking a large creature out of my opponent's graveyard and giving me a way forward in the early game. Opponent's cheating. They're playing a land. I'm going first. Rude. Games of Magic start at 15 life, right? Sire of 7 Deaths to graveyard, please. I'm going to be able to use that to get a decent buffer here. Ow. I think I've got a shock again, because I need blue, but I also don't have green yet. It's turn 2, I'm at 12. Everything's fine. We're just going to put that under here right now. And this is going to give me a respectable amount of life back. You fucking draw with Dismember. I quit. Magic sucks. We're a Pokemon streamer now. GG's. Uh, fuck. Nice counterspell, idiot. Anyway, when I thought this matchup was going to be tough, this is the sort of thing that I meant. I think we got lucky. No, let me rephrase that. I think our previous opponent was perhaps not overly proficient in their deck. I think we got a little bit of wiggle room there, a little bit of grace. Now, what am I doing? I think it's Tasigur. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Sometimes I just eat an Ugin if I tap out, but I just can't take chip damage right now. My opponent will be able to cast most things at this stage of the game. I'm going to leave Emperor of Bones in graveyard because it's better to get back with Tasigur, despite the fact that it doesn't grow Murktide. Alright, tapped land. Want to see a card, go to graveyard. We want to see a bad card. Nope. Okay. I need counterspell up next turn then. Am I willing to take more damage? Yes. Yes, I am. Okay. So we have Tasigur up if I don't need to counterspell. But sometimes this is 2 life or nothing. Alright. So we're at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 mana towards fun Eldrazi things. I counter it. 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 Anyway, Tasigur, you've been great, bud. So goodbye, Tasigur. Did not get to activate that ability. Now my opponent gets to do this Sanctum of Ugin thing and get a colorless creature, which will be uncounterable. Selecting Devourer of Destiny. And I have taken so much self-damage from my lands and my Thoughtseizes that I am in really bad shape. This helps. So I'll throw down the Emperor and start eating some things from graveyard. But this is rough. Can't be countered, but this trigger can. And we will, I suppose, replicate it. I get to keep my Emperor of Bones. A lot of my removal spells aren't going to eat Devourer of Destiny, though. So it's not like I can just junk this and bring it back with Emperor of Bones for a big swing. I don't know what I'm playing towards. Emperor of Bones. We'll eat an Emperor of Bones. I'll draw a card. That's an island. I believe that I am effectively dead. That did not feel good. GG's. Modern is a fun and varied place where you can do lots of different strategies. Just for giggles, I'm going to go take a look at the metagame. Let's do a last 7 days. Oh, MTG Goldfish, you are so laggy. In the last 7 days, Eldrazi Ramp is only 8% of the metagame. Is it Prowess is at 10.5%. Boros Energy is at 20%. So this is just unwanted variance on my end. Okay, my opponent did not have a turn 1 play. Unfortunately, I think since my opponent is coming out of the gates this quickly, I now need to have Spell Pierce available for my first turn. I really wanted to do this tapped Undercity Sewers immediately. I just don't think I get to do that. I think I have to counter a Malevolent Rumble or equivalent that happens this turn. For sure. That is indeed the Malevolent Rumble. Grab a Breeding Pool so that I have green mana. And pierce this. With 2 other counterspells for the late game bombs, I think this is fine. I do believe that I am shocking here. Oh, jeez, that feels fucking hopeless. Yes. I can Fatal Push that, but the bonus mana here, like paired with Cavernous Souls, is really rough. Thought Scour myself. Skimmer, More Thought Scour. I guess this is basic Swamp. But that's really awkward with this and counter spells. I'm, in theory, going to want triple blue green. Oh, this is another Watery Grave. I'm gonna eat that. And now we've got to hope for some Karn type stuff that we get to counter. Fuck. It's just too big. It's too fucking big for my removal spells. Oh, sorry. It's you instead. No. No. Well, we're gonna get better at this matchup, but don't feel good about it. Absolutely Did not want to play against this deck from the time that I hit the record button today, and we've gotten paired against it 3 times. Life has a cruel sense of humor like that. I have a good engine here. I'm going to try and keep that. And I think I'm just going to save some points of life here. And I'm going to hope that this engine gets me to reasonable cards for the mid game. I'm very much not 100% for that to happen, though. I'll go to 17 here. And don't know that it matters too much which one I play first. Wooded Foothills. My opponent's Utopia Sprawl is on red, which means that I need to be thinking about Kozilek's return, which is pretty rough if you are looking to, assemble multiple 2-drop creatures. Uggin's Labyrinth. Oh. Could be worse, honestly. Honestly, could be worse. Let's get a basic island. 16. We are not going to be great at putting these things into play. But hopefully I draw some cool things. I would call that a cool thing. Hit for 2. I'm not going to be the best at flash stuff, though. Like, if I hold up Consign to Memory, then I'm not actually doing anything else where this goes. My opponent could cast a Kozilek's Command or a Talisman or something. Another Emperor of Bones. This does its thing once per turn. So I guess let's draw our card. Yeah. Sewer. Send it. 13. The replicate is a trigger. If I want to replicate through Trinisphere, I need 4 mana available. So that means playing the untapped land. Dismiss this stuff. That's fine. We're not countering something of that magnitude. The Consign to Memory needs to do more work than that. So we're now in this really awkward spot where I have Consign to Memory available, and my opponent has probably Kozilek's Return or Kozilek's Command, or both available. So if I do something like put counters on Emperor of Bones, my opponent has a window to do something cool. So I think I can't put counters on this, and I'm just going to fetch a tapped land. I'm going to get a second black source. Spell Pierce, not the best, but maybe reasonable. Let's draw another card. Tasigur. That's a little easier to sneak into play. One's at 9. I'll probably pretty aggressively surveil stuff into graveyard. It's really hard to play that right now. Pass turn. That's a Kozilek's Command for making spawns and drawing a card. I can Spell Pierce this. If I do, my opponent has 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 mana to just cast a scarier thing. I think I have to let this resolve. This Trinisphere is very awkward for me. There are some timelines where my opponent can cast 2 spells on their turn, and that is also a problem. My opponent liked one of those. So much mana. That's a Sowing Mycos spawn. I think I value my own mana pretty highly. I think this is a replicate. Target this. Replicate 1. Hold on. This is... What is this? This is not a trigger upon cast. Oh, I see. It is happening during the paying of costs. Does that mean that I can replicate twice? It does. I misspoke earlier then. That's not what I wanted to do. Oh no, it just displayed wrong? Okay. That did do what I wanted it to do. That was just a display bug. It said replicate 1. Writhing Chrysalis now, which I don't get to counter. Draw a land would be cool. Junk the Skimmer. Draw a card. Nope, it's Tasigur. 3, 6, 7, 8 in hand. I'll discard a Tasigur. You have Secret Reach. I think I'm just discarding a Tasigur here. My opponent is returning their World Breaker to hand and has an Eldrazi Temple. This is a weird game. I'm enjoying this game a lot. I don't think I'm favored in it, but I'm enjoying it a lot. Cast with Replicate 1. Do that. Replicate 1. Paying 3 mana. Replicate thingy goes on the World Breaker trigger. This is still potentially a very large creature. So I sacrifice this creature at the beginning of the next end step. I think it's just time to adapt this and use it to draw an extra card. I don't know, maybe the 5/7 here is reasonable. I need to get Writhing Chrysalis out of the way though. I don't have that many removal spells. Opponent can bring this back. Well, no, I think I'm just using my mana here. So put the counters on, get the Skimmer. So if my opponent sacks 4 spawns, this has 6 power. Okay. Combat. Bones? I think I'm drawing cards. My opponent could just return this in response anyway. So let's get cards. Spell Pierce, Breeding Pool. Okay. We're gonna send them. So now I will dismember this duder. I guess I should have done this pre-combat so my opponent can't block the 4/4. I was expecting the blocks to go on Emperor of Bones, which is why I didn't. My opponent gets a bunch of triggers, returns the World Breaker. I saw that coming. That becomes a 0/1 and is dead. Now is it a Tasigur? What all can World Breaker exile? I can't see it anymore. It's not revealed. Artifact, enchantment, or land. Yeah. That's exactly enough cards in graveyard to throw down a Tasigur. I don't have any cards in graveyard currently. Alright, no more countering Eldrazi. Oh no. That's so much worse. Fuck. Okay. So I am losing a creature into Emrakul, whichever one my opponent thinks is the scariest. And that is slightly unclear to me which one that is. I think it's the flyer. I think you just attack the flyer into Emrakul so that you can fly over for 13. I can't play any of my flyers as of right now. What happens if my opponent activates Tasigur while they are controlling me? Never had that come up before. Presumably they get to pick, but I'm not 100% sure on that. Alright, so something's happening. And they came to the same conclusion that I did. So I've got 1 card in graveyard. Then I get a new draw for my real turn. Again, the creatures are big. I'm not getting any damage through on the ground. Trample too. So like I could try to do something temporary like block with this, but I'm still just taking a ton of damage. I guess that's the line, right? Just doesn't feel good. So this is the new Emperor of Bones. That one eats Writhing Chrysalis. This one will just eat some other card. It doesn't really matter. I have to hold the mana up for this or I die. More mana from my opponent. Alright, here comes the Emrakul. So now I adapt. Put my counters on. Got my Writhing Chrysalis. No. Ready. So as soon as my opponent exiles this Writhing Chrysalis, I am facing down lethal damage here. That'll do. GG's. Hopefully we don't get paired against Eldrazi again. Okay, keeping this hand would have some degree of risk. I don't have the second mana guaranteed immediately, which is a pretty big deal. Like, sometimes Molt Tender gives me the second mana, and sometimes it doesn't. I'm going to just mulligan this one and try to find something more stable. Opponent says I'm 0-4, so here's a free match. I'm going to ask them to play it out if they have time. Ah, yeah, opponent recognized me and said they will. Anyway, I am good with this. We'll put back one of the Watery Graves. So let's grab green-blue here. Play out the Molt Tender. And then we can potentially... Oh, it says spicy. You're damn right, it's spicy. Okay. So losing the Thought Scour here is kind of a big deal. Now I don't have an awful lot going on. Hopefully I just draw something like an Emperor of Bones here. Malevolent Rumble? That'll do. Let's save this as a Surveil land. And Rumble. Rumble gets a Skimmer. Okay. Unfortunately, that was my Surveil land going to graveyard there. And I'm going to value putting a card in the graveyard more than a single point of damage. The Eldrazi spawn notably makes colorless mana, which does not contribute to me just casting this immediately with Molt Tender. Alright, opponent is chilling. We mill, breeding pool. Ooh-wee. Yeah, this is fine. Let's fetch. I want to do this. Let's go bam and bam. This is getting a response. Am I going to lose Molt Tender? I'm going to lose Molt Tender. I will mill a bonus card here. Then that can die. However, let's take the lands out of the graveyard because I still could just get something nice later. Like a Murktide Regent that wants me to have the instants and sorceries in there. We have gotten the full-on what the heck from our opponent. Alright, so we will go ahead and sacrifice that spawn, so my opponent doesn't get to make their thingy bigger. And then I have 5 cards in graveyard towards Oculus. Fatal Push will be the 6th card. Let's see what my opponent's got going on. Boggart Trawler. How dare you? How dare you? Damn it! Okay. I'm kind of on the defensive versus these bodies, unfortunately. I think I'm just going to pass the turn. I think I'm going to give my opponent some credit. I think if I just attack Tasigur, they're not going to throw every single one of their creatures in front of this body and, like, let me get a really cool Fatal Push blowout. Yeah. Rip. Okay. They're just chunking that immediately. I might want to Fatal Push here, so this card leaves my graveyard. Oh, this is weird. No, I guess if I'm killing the Bowmasters, it doesn't matter if I leave the push in graveyard. It's when I don't end up killing the Bowmasters that I might want that card gone, or if my opponent, say, plays another relic afterwards. Womp into an Emperor of Bones. So now there's, like, 2 very good targets for this Fatal Push. The Emperor doesn't do anything yet, but it absolutely will. I'm going to push the Bowmasters. I can bring it back with Emperor. Fuck! I hate this. Hate it, I hate it, I hate it. Soft weeping continues. So that's an untapped Godless Shrine. I might be facing down like a Solitude here. Very much not good. It's 4 to activate. It's the upkeep Solitude. Yes. Goodbye, Tasigur. I mean, I can take out a Bowmaster. Not to the mana for any of these yet. I guess I'll hold to see what happens in combat. I think I am probably blocking and trading with a Solitude while taking out Bowmasters or Boggart Trawler. Yes. There are certainly 7 or more cards in graveyard. Alright. So we're going to trade with Solitude. We're going to Fatal Push. Post-combat Fatal Push Boggart Trawler. I don't have Revolt yet. Okay. 12. Land drop. Oh no, it's untapped. Okay. Okay, I get some bonus value here. That's nice. I can play a new Tasigur, I guess? This is an uphill battle. Like, Menace, Lifelink plus Flicker Wisp kills me in 2 turns. I don't really know how I win. Boggart Trawler, so they can nuke their own graveyard here to draw a card. Yep. So that's 7 because of the Menace. I can't block. So I am dead next turn. Thought Scour. Target myself. Get pinged by Bowmasters. Malevolent Rumble is not going to get me anywhere. I don't have enough cards for Murktide Regent. That'll do. GG. I want Dismember here. All of my primary threats are graveyard focused, which is really rough versus my opponent's deck with Emperors and Relics and Petromos, Boggart Trawler. Probably trim a Tasigur. My Spell Pierces probably aren't fantastic. It's hard for me to have them up at the right time to hit stuff. Okay, we'll mulligan that one. This is very awkward. I need the second color of mana. I have fine things. Dismember's incredibly important in this matchup. I'm going to try to high roll this hand. I'm going to junk Counterspell. And any black or green land between my draw step and Thought Scour puts me in a good place. Relic. Now my Molt Tenders are Certainly worse. Milled over a land. Come on, land. Come on, land. Take a card out of my graveyard for relic. Uh-oh. Dismembers are good in the matchup, but I'm off to a bad start here. I will just dismember that immediately. Yeah. Okay, cool. So now I get... I'm so upset. That's my one overgrown tomb. And we happen to mill it. I'm getting green. I'm just upset about it. We are going to get Molt Tender because Molt Tender can make black mana, and Dismember is a colorless spell. Ignore this. This doesn't matter. 18. And opponent is chilling. Yep. So I will be at graveyard parity. I'm just going to play that tapped, I think, and pass the turn. Milling is better than attacking for 1. Yep. I'm going to let my opponent untap. Atramos. This is why I kept the Dismember hand. So I'm going to Dismember that. I think for 4 life. Yeah. And yeah. No! Alright, I've got limits on my life here. I'll now exile a card from graveyard for black. God damn it. Forgot about that. Yeah. 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 I don't know. I maybe can't just take 2 more damage. I'll lose another card from graveyard. I'm going to get whacked for 2 here. I can Fatal Push Felia. My opponent can just take out another card from graveyard. It's going to be really hard to play something like a Murktide Regent. I'll do my best. I know my opponent has Ephemerates. We'll do that now. I will drop a new Molt Tender. Pass the turn. I am at a healthy 5 life. Land drop. Uh-huh. Is it better to just cast that for 5 mana in that spot? Alright. No bueno. No. Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah. That's rough. Oh, my opponent gets to do their thing. Well, that's certainly better than just having the hard cast Overlord. I'll mill a card. Emperor. There's a Solitude. All right. We're not out of this yet. So exile a card. Play an Emperor of Bones. Go to combat. Target Solitude. Put counters on it. Solitude the Ketramos. Swing in for a little bit of life. Okay. Crisis temporarily averted. This is hitting me right in the morale. I'm not going to lie to you. Molt Tender. Molt Tender is now ready to rumble. We're giving up on this Murktide Regent. Yeah. I didn't want to draw that land anyway. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I might be able to sneak a dude in if my opponent doesn't respond. Yeah. Yeah. This is the window to respond, so I can't Murktide. They figured it out. They're too smart. Thought Scour myself. Now I get to sneak a Murktide in. Yeah. 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 Murktide through double relic. Let's fucking go. At this point, I don't know that it matters. No, I'll keep taking creatures out of my opponent's graveyard because of their own Emperor of Bones. Yeah. This has been an uphill battle. Fuck. Fuck. Alright. Now Felia can blink my Murktide. Felia can blink Overlord. Alright. It's Overlord first. Does that just mean there's a removal spell for Murktide? No? Okay. So my opponent potentially could have done that differently and like blinked the Murktide on attack and gone for this later. They got back the Felia though. Rumble or consider first. I'm going to rumble first. Oh, those are bad. Those are bad. Is my Surveil land already in exile? Looks like no. Land first. Maybe I just consider. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm gonna take that. Relic is so weird here. Now there's 6. Okay. I need my opponent to not catch on to what's happening. Oh, this happens automatically. Nice. There's not a window here for my opponent to do this. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is going to grow the Murktide a bunch. Oh my god, we brought that one back. That feels so good. I think my opponent was just a little bit too conservative with the Relic. Maybe they were counting on Murktide rather than Oculus. I don't think I had I'd shown Oculus. Yeah, they said in chat, glad to see Oculus before I die. They said I really need to keep that graveyard locked down. You're not wrong. So, I won through those relics. Those relics feel important enough that I could consider some stuff like this. I think I'm just going to not. We navigated that one successfully. Let's try to do it again. I had some little missteps that game. I'm going to keep this hand. This is fine. Anyway, I had some little missteps that game. I let my opponent draw one more card with Ketramose than I needed to do. We have tons of ways to start fueling the graveyard, and Emperor of Bones for turn 2. Maybe Tasigur for turn 2? We're just gonna do that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, I could just Tasigur on turn 2 if I wanted. I think Oculus on turn 3 is better. But we'll see. Like, I might have a Felia coming up, but I just need to respect Thought Scour me. There. That Bowmaster looking pretty good right now. Is it just Tasigur? Alright. Oh, that's a Marsh Flats. That means I have to get Overgrown Tomb. Okay. Molt Tender. And as much as I want to Oculus, I don't have the untapped land. And Molt Tender would be taking a card out of graveyard to make that mana. So, like, I'm going to take the immediate Tasigur. Just kind of hope that I find an answer to Bowmasters. Otherwise, I just morph into, like, Emperor of Bones mid-range for a little while. Overlord. Getting Felia. Solitude for my Tasigur. I guess I'm happy that Tasigur eats that and not the Oculus. No! Oh, that's such a good turn. Ooh. I'm going to be able to Emperor of Bones away my opponent's Bowmaster. What a disaster. Okay. I mean, one problem at a time. We push this, so these cards become live. Molt Tender. This is 5 in graveyard, assuming I Surveil. So I might be able to just Oculus next turn. Opponent does not Ephemerate. I'm going to take 5 in combat. No. That is exactly 5 cards in graveyard. Okay. Well, we have a plan. Instant, instant, instant. One other card. There's a 6/6. The Althea Voidwalker gets to attack through that, and if I attack with Murktide Regent, the Solitude and the Orc Army get to come at me. Oh, how bad is it? I think a removal spell would be the death of me here. Yeah, there we go. So I gain 6. I get attacked for 8. I will die the following turn. I can't get Oculus. I could get untapped mana for Emperor of Bones. Okay. Fatal Push. A Douthie Voidwalker to turn my graveyard back on. Play Emperor of Bones. I'm going to go to combat and put the Solitude under Emperor. Intend on taking 5 on my turn. Getting the Solitude the next turn. This way my opponent can't play Graveyard Hate. That takes out the Solitude. Or that allows them to use the Solitude. Fuck. Okay. Desperately clinging to life. The Overlord has 1 counter remaining. Hail Mary. Thought Scour. Malevolent Rumble needs... No, Malevolent Rumble can't hit untapped Greenland. Consider. Dismember, not doing it from this life total. Yeah, I can chump block, but that'll do. GG's. That was a fine match to end this league with. That was a lot of fun. Alright, Tasigur. How'd you do? What grades did you get on your report card? Probably not passing marks. The Tasigur 4-5 body was fine. But at one more delve cost, you just get so much more out of Murktide Regent. It is blue-blue versus single black, but I think just the objectively larger body that also has evasion is a big deal here, and the Murktide Regent works well in multiples, unlike Tasigur, because Tasigur is legendary. I had a Tasigur in play a handful of times. I don't believe that I ever was able to successfully activate its 4-mana ability, and I think if that is going to be the case in games, this card is just not worth playing. The supporting cast was fine. This whole like Skimmer, Molt Tender, Emperor of Bones things worked surprisingly well. We were able to wiggle our way to casting some of these Delve and Pseudo Delve cards through 2 relics. That is definitely a statement. But if the white-black matchup feels bad and the Eldrazi matchup feels bad, this is probably not the time to be messing around with this strategy. The sideboard wasn't too bad. I'm sure it can be improved. Nick, I hope this gave you some really good ideas for tweaking your own brew. The boomer Magic player in me respects trying to bring Tasigur back, but the old man might be ready for retirement. All right, folks, I hope you all have a wonderful rest of the day. And if you need some cards, you know where to go. See ya.